We are back, dear diaspora, with Engineer Yenka. And we want to ask Yenka today, Engineer Yenka today, to say, what is driving you? What put this fire in your belly that made you be so focused on Africa, so passionate? And I'm sure you're sacrificing a lot, not only your time, but I'm sure your resources. So tell us about this. It's a great thing, though.
Thank you. You know, when I went abroad, and I was in the classroom and relatively got good grades,
Yes.
then obviously I was smart enough, so to say, to get the grades.
Yes.
And then you now look for opportunities. Opportunities were limiting.
Yeah.
So you look around at your own, when I say children, I mean the continent.
Yes.
And said, I've been to a lot of villages in Africa.
Yes.
And I remember one story I'm going to share with you that is,
Yeah.
that, you know, I used to work for another company.
Yes.
And we had gas stations in one country in West Africa. And I got there that day, I arrived in the evening. My people in my group picked me up. And I said, you know what, I want to drive around to look at your gas stations, what they look at like at night.
Yes.
If you have the right lighting and then you are doing what you're supposed to do in terms of upkeeping the standards.
Yes.
So we got to this location, and this location had what they call the ID sign, which is on the ground.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of teenagers and kids sitting around the light.
Oh.
Which is not acceptable in the organization.
Yes.
Because it's not safe.
No.
So I called the guy and I was about to start chastising the manager. But why would you let all these kids sit here, thinking that we need to be safe?
Yeah, keep them safe.
And the guy looked at me and said, boss, there's no light in their house and they are preparing for the exam.
My gosh.
They need to read.
Oh, gosh.
So how do you expect those kind of people to compete in the new world that we are?
Imagine.
They cannot have access to internet. They cannot have access to the data bundle. They don't have the right telephones. And we want our children to compete.
Not even enough light to do their homework.
Not enough light to do the homework. So we want them now to compete in the world. So we are not giving them the right plates to start with.
Yeah.
So those are the things that are driving me to say, what value can I add to those kids? And what values can I also add to the leadership that I encounter to let them focus on doing the right thing for the continent? It will be a shame if we waste all the brains that we have on the continent.
Big shame.
Today, take a lot of technology worldwide. There's a big African guy that designs cars for GM.
Yes.
There's a guy in California that for the first and probably still the only person that took out a fetus out of a pregnant woman, did surgery on the fetus and put the fetus back.
And that's an African.
That's an African.
Wow.
Okay, so there are a lot of things that Africans are founded because they're in an environment where they are able.
Even the metro system in the UK is run by an African.
Correct. So all these things are there. If we don't give our children opportunity, we can't sit back to blame them. So what's driving me is maybe because there are more I want to see done by an African.
Yes.
And I've done a lot that I could do.
Yes.
But maybe if I have 10 million disciples,
yes,
the continent will be a better place.
Yes.
So maybe that's the driver.
Absolutely. I mean, this is amazing because if we don't give them, to your point, the right start and the enabling environment once they are there, how do we expect them to compete?
To perform.
And if they cannot perform, how can they compete with the rest of the world? And if they cannot compete with the rest of the world, how is Africa going to develop?
Exactly.
You know, we are shooting ourselves in the foot.
Correct.
We have a big problem with African leadership. We have these leaders who, many of them are not performing, and worse, many of them are terribly destructive. And I'm not pointing a finger at any one particular one, but I'm saying that how do we get these leadership? You may not have that answer because from what I have seen, the people are not voting them in. They're selecting themselves through computers. I don't know, whatever they do. The problem, however, is you end up with situations like we saw the late Mobutu Sese Seko, what damage he did to Zaire then, which is DRC, and then he just left. One man destroying everything, destroying prospects.
Yes, there is no need for anyone to run a country for over 40 years. I mean, there's just, not one person does not the answer to everybody. There are a lot of brains in a country. There's a need because even when you are there for 40 years, I mean, 40 years ago, there was no computer. So which means if you are here now, 40 years later, you don't even know how to communicate.
No.
So you need a whole lot of stuff. And getting new blood and new energy also will propel us to go forward. Yes, what you would find or what you will see is that people that just want to hold on to power, but in most cases, do they have the interest of the people at heart?
Yeah.
There are a few leaders that actually are doing a lot of good things
Yes.
within their countries,
Yeah.
and we just hope and wish that all the other guys can emulate.
Yes.
For me, if I'm sitting on a job, 40 years later, my roads are still the same. I still don't have potable water.
Imagine.
I still don't have hospitals.
Imagine.
Then what am I doing? So those are the things that we all need to work on, the basics. Everything else, corporations will bring it into your country.
Yes.
But the basics that the people needs to be there. And some of it is also lack of respect for our people.
Yeah.
Because if we respect them, we will treat them better.
Yes. And indeed, leadership, being a head of state, for example, or being a cabinet secretary or whatever, that is a civil service job.
Correct.
You are serving the people.
Yes.
The people are paying you for serving them.
Yes.
But there's a tendency, and not one country, many countries, where, to your point, somebody's patched up in leadership when he or she came. So we have these leaders come in. They find all these roads are no good, or whatever roads are no good, whatever water is not flowing, whatever electricity is not flowing. And then 15, 20 years later, they are still sitting there and these things are still the same. Worse, there are some who come, things are relatively working, could be better. 5 years later, things are worse. Mm-hmm. Or less than 5 years later, things are really worse. Mm-hmm. Then you wonder, and this is rhetorical, what can Africans do? Because really, from what I've observed, many a times, these people are not elected by the people. You can't blame the people for electing bad leaders. It's a matter of Africans going back to the drawing table and thinking, what can we do to prevent these people from patching themselves and propping themselves into leadership only to fill their coffers? It's a sad situation, but you may want to speak to that.
No, I think that's a tough one because even in an environment where you may say or you may think people are rightfully elected, we still have poor decision makers.
Yes.
I think basically the population needs to stop worshiping leaders.
Yes.
Know that they are there to improve our lives and work for us.
Yes.
And then expect and demand certain performances from them.
Yes.
And I mean, to the best of what we could do, when it's voting time, make sure your message is clear to say, we'd ask you to do this, you didn't do it, we're not going to vote for you. I think over time, you'll see the continent improve, but we are far cry from where we need to be.
Big time far cry, not even 50% to where we should be. Now, you're an engineer, chemical engineer. You are a man of the people. You have trained so many young people. You are now devoting your prime time in life to being the custodian of culture for us through FESTAC and through many other things that you have done, like twinning the countries or putting the countries together right after COVID. We need more like you. In the meantime, is there a formula we can use to recruit like-minded persons? Because I'm sure they're there somewhere. I mean, I've interviewed a few who are like-minded. How do we get like-minded people together and make a difference for Africa?
That's a good one. So one of the things that I make a point of every time, and I guess when you look at the groups that I belong to, is in hundreds, if it's not 1,000. Because as soon as I meet somebody that I think can do you a good or a value, 2 or 3 people, I put them in a box. And I did 3 yesterday. 3 different groups yesterday. I created 3 different groups yesterday.
Wow.
Because,
but I saw you in action. FESTAC and thereafter.
So I always tell people, you know what, my sister? I've known you for 2-3 years. This is what I think is your forte. I know that guy over there. You guys have similar mind or similar energy. I like to bring you together. So I mean, I do that every day. So the more we can do is to bring ourselves together. There's something they say that there is something out of nothing. What does that mean? So if a 10 of us get together once a month, just to sit down, play and talk, while we're doing nothing but just saying hello, something might pop up that will help one of us.
Absolutely.
So what is critical is for all of us, don't run away from one another.
No.
Don't sit back and, I mean, you've never been to a certain country before. And you're sitting down there joining people, condemning the people in that country.
Imagine.
Because you don't even know. And I'm going to close by a story I'm going to share with you. I met a guy, the long story how I met him, but we met on the plane, sitting in the plane was delayed, we put in the hotel. You know what happens on the plane? None of you talk to one another, right? So we first night we went to dinner. We did one of these. I mean, I should even say it was a flight between, I want to say, Lagos to Senegal. And it was the 2 of us were the only Africans in business class. So we didn't even talk. We just waved. So the following morning now, we've been together for over 12 hours. So we were kind of forced to say hello to one another. So we said hello to one another, and I was like, I don't know, 20-something years ago, when sometimes it take 3 days to get from Lagos to Senegal.
Oh my God.
You know, because you have to connect in Abidjan, connect in Mali.
You go to Europe first.
No. Thank you. Or you go to Europe first. So we got on the plane the following morning, and they said, oh, sorry, the connecting flight in Côte d'Ivoire has gone. And you have to now spend 6 hours in Côte d'Ivoire or something instead of 30 minutes or 1 hour. So on the plane, everybody was screaming and cursing, and I was happy. So by this time, the guy had said hello to me in breakfast, right? So he leaned over and says, mon frère, pourquoi tu rigoles comme ça? Why are you so excited? Why are you happy? You know, I said, oh, I said, I have a lot of proteges in Ivory Coast.
Yes.
I have not seen them in a very long time.
Okay.
So I'm happy to waste 4 hours in Abidjan so I can go see my guys.
Yes, yes.
So he looked at me and said, okay. And I said, you're going to be there for 5 to 6 hours. I said, would you like to join me into meeting these guys?
Yes.
The guy says, okay.
Yes. Where was he originally from?
It's from Senegal.
Yes.
And carrying a British passport. And I'm going to come back to that.
Yes.
So we got to Ivory Coast. By the time we landed in Ivory Coast, a stop we were not planning.
Yes.
A guy came to the airport with a placard with my name.
Okay.
So the guy goes, oh, it was an ordinary stop, and your name is already on the placard.
Yes.
So they took us, and we went to a restaurant, one of great restaurants in Abidjan.
Yes.
For seafood, probably the best.
Yes.
So we got to the place.
Yes.
My guys met me. We ended up with about maybe 6 to 8 of us.
Yes.
We ate, drink. Guy leaned over to me and said, how much do you want me to contribute to the food?
Yes.
And I said, I don't need your money. So I tried to put money out. My guys held my hand and said, boss,
no.
We are so happy to treat you.
Yes.
We don't need your money either. So we didn't pay for the food.
Yes.
My guys paid all the money in the food.
Yes.
So they took us back to the airport.
Yes.
When we got to the airport now to board the next plane,
yes.
The guy and I were sitting next to one another.
Yes.
And the guy says, I have a confession.
Yes.
I said, what do you mean you have a confession?
Yes.
He said, I was just coming from Kenya.
Yes.
And I had a bad experience.
Oh.
That I said, I will never prejudice another African again.
Oh.
And I found myself prejudicing you. And he said, the only reason why I joined you to go out of the airport is because I know Abidjan so well that I felt like this guy cannot sell me, do something
play
to
games.
me, play games with me. That's why he said, if it had been another country, I would not have joined you.
Oh, really?
He said, but I'm glad I did because I just told myself yesterday that I would never prejudice again, and I'm prejudicing myself without realizing it. And I said, what happened to you?
Yes.
Long story short, he came to Kenya. Yes. It's a Senegalese with a British passport.
Yes.
And he said that he had a rough time with customs and immigration in Nairobi.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, he pulled somebody to the side and said, well, why did you guys give me so much trouble?
Yes.
And the guy said, well, we have a lot of Senegalese that bring illegal stuff.
Yeah, Senegalese had bad name that time.
Yeah, but no, I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere with the comment.
Yeah.
It says, we have a lot of Senegalese that bring things through here. Yeah. So we saw a Senegalese with a British passport. Yeah. And that's why we are questioning you a lot more. Yes. He said, after they said that, he looked at the guy and he said, you know what? Yes. In Senegal, we say the same thing about Kenyans. Yes. Oh, okay. I don't know. I didn't know that. Now, ask yourself why. Yeah. The two countries are the extreme ports of the continent. Yes. So things are about to happen. Yes. But if you let that collude who you are, how you open yourself to your brothers and sisters, will never get anywhere. I know. So when that thing happened to the guy, he says in Senegal, he's also joined people to condemn Kenyans before. Okay. So he said when that happened to him, he told himself that I will never prejudice another African again. Okay. But then the second day he found himself doing that to me. It became his second nature. Second nature. So you can see that. And it's a long story, but it's a big message in we have to consciously work together. Yes. We have to go out of our way to work together. And that's one of the biggest way for us to move the continent forward. Yes. To be, you meet people, say hello to them, relax with them. Be guarded, Nobody say you shouldn't be careful. Be guarded. Yes. But if the person doesn't, becomes a negative, then hold back. Yeah. But don't deny your African brother or sister an opportunity to know one another. Just because they're African. Just because they're Africans, from certain country. Another country. Yeah.
In conclusion, What do you want to tell us in conclusion?
The future is bright.
Yes.
The future is bright.
Yes.
I think some of the topics we touched.
Yes.
We need, better leadership.
Yes.
We need people to be more concerned about our people.
Yeah.
I'm tired of bad roads.
Yeah.
I'm tired of basic issues on the continent.
Yes.
A lot of people that lead, they go around in convoys of 6, 7, 10, 8 cars. They don't buy fuel.
Yeah.
They don't buy cars.
Yeah.
So they really don't feel the pain of the people.
We the citizens buy the fuel.
Yeah, they don't. So they don't feel the pain of the people.
Yes.
If there's any message to anybody listening out there,
yes.
Be more considerate.
Yes.
Compassionate.
Yes.
Know what your people are going through. Yes. Create a better enabling environment for them. Yes. Sit back and look at what can you export to give you forex. Yes. Because one of the biggest things is that our currency is getting further devalued. Yes. Our people's lives are getting more devalued. That's true. Meanwhile, we have products we could sell to actually stop the erosion of our currency. So those are the things we need to do. Yes. Policies, enabling environment, procedures to make it a better continent. And God shall help us to get there.
Primary basic thing, let's feed ourselves.
Yes.
There was a time when a certain survey was done. I come from a development background, meaning that I've been working with development organizations for most of my life. And some of the surveys that I came through said that if you had every African growing food in their backyard, they would have something to eat. There would be no starvation. True. Let's remember that if even our governments are dissuading us, and I can't imagine any African country dissuading its people from growing food. We have to grow the food. We have to keep our chickens. We have to make our milks and our ghee and whatever we eat. If you can't feed yourself, you can't survive. If you can feed yourself, you feed yourself, your children, your family. And that's my closing statement. Thank you, viewers. Subscribe to our channel, share widely our program, and give us a thumbs up. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.